Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back. Do you want to know why your ex suddenly broke up with you, seemingly out of the blue? Or even worse, why they ghosted you? Well, stay tuned and you'll find out. But first, I want to welcome back my No Contact Army. If you've been having trouble staying in no contact, be sure to download our app Silencio. The link is underneath every single video and podcast. And when you're about to break no contact, just hit the panic button and you will hear a special message from me. And if you too would like to join our No Contact Army, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and the bell notification and you're in. And to read our manual, go to nocontactsecrets.com where you can read 2 free chapters before purchasing the book. So that concludes this video portion. Stay tuned for the audio and I will see you again next week. Okay, so what is the truth about why your ex suddenly dumped you? When someone dumps you seemingly out of the blue, there's usually one main reason. And here's a comment from someone who experienced that reason. I dated this guy who came out of a 2-year-long relationship and things were going good, or so I thought, when he abruptly dumped me and gave a BS excuse. I later found out that he left me for his ex. I look back on that now and regret ever getting into a relationship with him, knowing he had feelings for a girl who doesn't even want him. Being played is a bitch, but so is karma. So, as I talked about in my video, the top 3 dating mistakes. Dating someone who's just gotten out of a relationship or before they've gotten over a relationship, even if it was months or years, is a very bad idea. It's not going to end well. And when I'm speaking with a new client and they start telling me that they met this person after that person had just gotten out of a relationship, I already know the reason for the breakup. They don't even have to tell me. So how can you safeguard to make sure that this doesn't happen to you, that you do not suddenly get dumped for the ex? Because, when you hire someone for a job, you get to see their work history on their resume. But when you meet someone, you don't have a dating resume. It would be nice if we all came with dating resumes. So you don't know their history. You only know what they tell you. And you don't know whether they just broke up with someone or were broken up with and probably have no business dating at that moment. So you want to find out sooner rather than later when their last relationship ended. Ask them questions and pay very close attention to the tone of their voice. And you want to do this in person and preferably on the first date. So what you're going to say is, how long have you been single? That's a fair question to ask, right? And if it was 6 months, well, if they were together for 2 months and now it's been 6 months since the breakup, they're probably over it. But if they dated the person for 10 years and it's only been 6 months, then they're probably not over it. And so listen to what to say and then say, yeah, breakups are always hard. Do you mind if I ask what happened? If they didn't tell you what happened. And what you're trying to find out is whether they were dumped or they were the ones who dumped the ex. Because if they were dumped, then there's a very good chance that they are not over the relationship since they didn't want the relationship to end. And I don't care what they say that, oh yeah, I'm over the ex. Of course they're going to say that if they're talking to you, who they're trying to date or do whatever with. But you'll be able to tell from their actions whether they really are over their ex or not. So here are some signs that someone is not over the ex. And obviously, the more signs you see, the higher the probability that they are not over their ex. Now, one of the easiest ways to tell is if they cannot stop talking about them. Shut up. And, you can't look forward and backward at the same time. So they're either ready to move forward or they're still looking backwards. If they were over their ex, they would not need to constantly bring them up, especially when there's no need to bring them up in conversation. So that's an easy one to spot. Now, the opposite of that actually is if they will not open up about what happened. They stonewall whenever you ask about it, and maybe they even get angry. So it's either because it's too painful, which means they're still emotionally attached, or because it's not totally over in their mind and they're still trying to get their ex back. Because if they were neutral about the situation, if they were over it, then they would say something like, yeah, he's a great guy, she's a great girl, it ran its course, didn't work out, but I wish him well, I wish her well, I've moved on, something like that. They're neutral, they're not angry. Because remember, the opposite of love is not hate or anger, it's indifference. If they couldn't care less, they would not be angry. Now, here's one you probably never thought of. If you look like their ex, maybe they have a type, but maybe they miss their ex and you are a rebound and they're just trying to replace the ex with someone who looks like them. Yeah. Another one, which is kind of similar to that, is that they compare you to their ex, whether it's a positive or a negative comparison. Either is not good. I've never had this personally happen to me, but it's like, well, my ex never did this, or my ex always did this. Yeah, well, I'm not your ex, so shut up. Another one is if they prioritize their ex. If the ex calls for help and they show up without thinking twice. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply if they have children together with the ex, emergencies come up, things happen. But if there's no need to be in touch with the ex and the ex asks them for something, asks them to jump, they immediately say, how high? They're always there ready to help the ex. So it might be guilt, or it might be that they still want them back. Another sign is that they do not want to commit. They say that they're not ready to be in a serious relationship. And that may be because they want to revive that old bond and they're scared to commit and close the door on the possibility of getting back with the ex. Now, if you happen to be around when they run into their ex or they see their ex, it's a bad sign if they get very excited. It's like, what are you so excited about? If they're excited about seeing the ex, there's still some emotion there. And check the body language and the energy when they're around their ex, because it's impossible to hide when you have feelings for someone. So if they're not acting like their normal self, they're fidgety, they're antsy, they're stealing glances, they're flipping their hair, if it's a girl or even if it's a guy, they have their feet pointed towards them, they're just not acting like themselves. Something's up. Now, if they're still in touch with their ex, you have to ask, why are they still in touch with their ex? Especially if they don't have a pet, a business, kids, or a home together. And this includes following them on social media. And they may say something like, oh, we're great friends, we're best friends. No, you're not. Friendship is neutral, and ex isn't, so why are they friends? And if they do have to be in touch, are they investing more time with the ex than they are in you? Are they giving that time, that ex more time texting, more time in person? Because the number one indicator of interest is time and effort. So if the ex is getting more time and effort than you, then they are not over them. Another one is if they're protective of their phone. What are they trying to hide, right? Especially if you've been together for a while and they're still protective of their phone, something's up. Now, if they're not happy about the new guy or girl that their ex is seeing, you have to wonder why. It's like, well, it's none of your business. That's your ex. What do you care what they're up to, who they're seeing? If they were over them, why would they care, right? And then the final one is your intuition. You just know it. It's a gut feeling. And you got to trust it because the gut has the most neurotransmitters in the body. So it knows what's up. So I have another comment here from a woman who found out the hard way. And she said, I broke up with a guy I was with for over a year because I couldn't help but feel the entire relationship that he was still in love with his ex. See, so that was her intuition. There's a lot of backstory and emotional cheating that went on. But anyway, 2 weeks after he moved out, he was already dating the ex. What a wasted year of my life. Yep, That's a hard lesson to learn. So what should you do? I remember a few years ago, I went on a date with a guy that seemed to be a great guy. And unfortunately, or fortunately, during the date, I found out that it had only been 2 months since he was out of a 7-year relationship. Definitely not enough time. So I got the hell out of there. I mean, not out of the date, but I didn't want to see him again. I said, I'm not interested in being a rebound. And so he said, okay, I'll get in touch when I'm less bouncy. I never heard from him again. I'm willing to bet he got back together with her. So I know you're going to be tempted to think that, oh, well, all they need is my love and they'll be able to move on from the ex. But that's just not true. You're going to play yourself. The ex has more power because they've invested more time, energy, emotion, and resources into the ex. And they feel like they didn't get a return on their investment, especially if they were dumped. It's very difficult to compete with the ghost of an ex. Most of the time, it's best to just walk away. Let them know that you're not interested in being a rebound and you don't think they're ready to move on. And tell them to hit you up when they are. Now, of course, they're going to try to convince you otherwise that, yeah, I'm ready. No. Stick to your guns. And trust me, if they're interested, they ain't going nowhere, okay? They will be back. And if you're not sure what to do, you can always contact me for a coaching call, and I can help you figure it out. And the link for that is underneath every single video. That's theartoflove.net. So let me recap the signs. And the first one is they are always talking about them. The second one is they don't want to talk about them. Next, they're angry at their ex. 4, you look like their ex. They compare you to their ex. They prioritize their ex. They don't want to commit. They get very excited when they see their ex. They are still in touch with the ex, even if they don't have to. And if they are in touch, they're giving their ex more time and energy than you. They're very protective of their phone. They're not happy about the new guy or girl their ex is seeing. And finally, your intuition. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever started dating when you weren't over an ex? Or did you ever date someone who wasn't over their ex? What happened? We want to know. And in the meantime, if you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. If you're listening to this as a podcast, please rate and review. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.